is next level everywhere. Things can never really go back to what they were, folks. It's a new world we're moving into. And what it's going to be is going to be determined by us. You know, I've travelled to over 108 countries in my life. I've been right around the world many times. I've seen lots of people from lots of countries. I've never met anybody who wanted a war. It's all governments who want to do this all the time. It's governments who control the whole situation. And they play everybody off against each other, and they all work together. And that's something we've got to realise, is that we're dealing with a multinational criminal cabal. And the only reason they get away with what they're doing is because we continually comply with our own enslavement, and we have to simply disconnect from it, stop complying with it. And the best form of non-compliance is to step into your heart. It really is. You know, if you obey your moral compass in everything you do, then the system can't do anything for you. It can't control you, because you continually have to step outside your moral compass to abide legislation all the time. And I just refuse to do that, because most of the time in our lives we're not what we want to be. We're doing something that someone else has told us to do. We're following parameters that someone else has given us. We're following guidelines that someone else has put there for us. We're not living our own life. And we're stepping outside our moral compass in every minute of every day in order to put food on the table. We have to stop that. We have to really step back and look at this and realise that it's already a community of people. If you can look at people as being yourself, another yourself, simply viewing reality from that perspective, suddenly all the barriers break down between people, and you find that you can live your life in a state of abundance and giving. And it isn't a state that you're keeping tabs on what you're giving to people. I just give unconditionally to people. We have every opportunity to create some really good change here, we really do. You know, for the first time in living memory, the entire system's been laid bare. All those people who were classed as conspiracy theorists, well, here it is. It's not a theory anymore. And it's most definitely a conspiracy. I mean, you should be able to see that just by the way the governments are all working together to do the same thing. It's all in lockstep. People might think, well, how could these governments agree to do this when they can't agree on anything? But the thing is, they can agree on everything, and they always have agreed on everything. All of the things they've shown us, it's all been theatre, folks. Theatre for the masses. To make us think that the governments are actually the enemies of each other. To make us think that we need governments to protect us. But who we need them to protect us from? Well, the other governments, of course. Without our government, the other governments might want to help us. But that never happens, folks. Even when we go to war with other countries, they never bomb the government buildings. They just bomb the people. It's a pretty twisted world, eh? But now's the time to push back. Now's the time to put down all the fear. I mean, it's come to the wire now, folks. What are you going to do? You're going to just do what you're told and get taken away and be put somewhere else and, you know. You know, your heart is the most powerful thing, and opening up your heart to people is what will change the world. That's how we can get through this system, by realising that it's all a fiction. And even people that learn the legal stuff and all the law stuff and how to get through it, to go to fight the system, what for? You're fighting a fiction, you're fighting a cloud, you're learning all this stuff to fight a cloud. So how real is it? You know, why are you learning all this stuff to go and fight something which is just an idea? What you've got to do is just disconnect from the whole thing. And the way you do that, again, is to connect to your heart and to connect to the people around you. Because when you do that, government ceases to exist. So we don't need to build any new system. We've got a system here already that could work, only we have to constantly step outside our moral compass to comply with it. And that's why it doesn't work. When you think about it, folks, as soon as you start doing the right thing in all that you do, and all your actions are according to your moral compass, this system cannot exist. It simply cannot function in that environment. It only functions now because we're so willing to step outside of our hearts and do whatever we're told, yes sir, no bags, 3 bags full, sir. And all we're really doing is paying protection money. That's what taxes are, it's protection money. I'll pay my taxes, you go and bomb those guys over there, just leave us alone here. It's all good. You know, and that's what we do. So now we run through our lives searching for some form of value of ourselves. You know, so many people just want to feel like they have value. They want to feel like they actually mean something. They're not just a little cog in the big machine. Well, guess what? You all do mean something. You know, you're not what this system has told you that you are. Every single one of you is a divine expression of creation that can do incredible things. The best form of non-compliance is to step into your heart and do the right thing. Follow the rules of Dharma, do the right thing in the right way at the right time for the right reason. And if you live your life in a state of unconditional love and service to creation, then you can find the path through that. And service to creation, it's not service to others at the expense of yourself. Put yourself on an even keel with everybody else. Don't serve others and deplete yourself. Don't serve yourself and deplete others. Put yourself on an even keel, in Lakesh, and we can change the world.
You're obliged to pretend respect for people and institutions you think absurd. You live attached in a cowardly fashion to moral and social conventions you despise, condemn, and know lack all foundation. It is that permanent contradiction between your ideas and desires and all the dead formalities and vain pretenses of your civilization which makes you sad, troubled, and unbalanced. In that intolerable conflict, you lose all joy of life and all feeling of personality, because at every moment they suppress and restrain and check the free play of your powers. And that is the poisoned and mortal wound of the civilized world. What is this shift that is happening in the world today? I've found that most people want the freedom to be able to go down the shop and buy their food. They want the freedom to be able to buy a house somewhere. They want the freedom to work at whatever job they wish to work at. Freedom to marry who they please, drive whatever car they would like to drive, and to run whatever business they would like to run. And they're prepared to pay whatever costs are incurred by doing all of these things. But of course, all of these things also include the freedom to pay taxes, the freedom to do what you're told, and the freedom to walk between the lines and follow whatever rules the politicians give you to follow. I mean, why do you have to...
For the Hunger Games!
Now on Tubi.
If the odds be ever in...
have to buy a house? Why shouldn't you be given a house simply because you're alive? Why do you have to pay to be alive? If you wish to marry someone, why do you need to purchase a marriage license and get the government involved and turn it into a three-way contract? Isn't it between you and the person you love? If so, why do you need to get the government involved? Well, that's right, it's because of the economic value that's attached to your love, to your wedding, and it's information you may need in the settlement should you ever get divorced, because you need to look at all the economics of the whole thing. But really, what does economics have to do with love? And if you're going to place conditions on the person that you're marrying and you wish to create a prenuptial agreement and all of this sort of stuff, well, do you really love the person? Or is your marriage simply a matter of economics? But that's what freedom is to people. It's freedom to conduct their life in an economic manner. Freedom to purchase what they want to purchase, freedom to be enslaved to a corporate system. And what it also means for many people is the freedom to point and complain about all these control mechanisms while demanding their freedom. But really, what freedom is it that they're wanting? What is this freedom for most people? Because most people don't actually want to be free. Most people simply want to complain about not being free, but they don't actually want to be free, because freedom is 100% self-responsibility. That's what freedom is. It certainly isn't anything else. I mean, it isn't freedom of choice. Freedom of choice is part of freedom, but freedom of choice is not freedom. Freedom is 100% liability for all your actions, everything you say and do. That's what true freedom is. True freedom is owning yourself and being responsible for that. And what I've found is that most people, even those who complain the loudest about not being free, and in fact especially those who complain the loudest about not being free, are absolutely terrified of true freedom. Technology isn't freedom. I'd like to be free enough to not have to log onto the computer every day and go on the air every week gently asking people to wake up before we head into a nightmare transhumanist world where all freedom is lost. I much prefer not to have to do that. And so I personally can't wait until people wake up to the fact that they actually are free, should they choose to be so. It's time for us all to get together We've got to stop fighting amongst ourselves. We've got to stop looking for the one perfect remedy that's going to be given to us on a silver platter. We've got to start thinking about ourselves, realise that remedy starts at home. It starts in your own heart. No one can come and fix your life for you. No one can offer you a system that's going to work, because it's a control system, whatever it is. If it's a system, then it's a control system. And we don't need a control system. What we need is to always operate from our hearts in all that we do, to live in a state of service for creation, but also putting ourselves on an equal par with everybody else. Don't give too much credit to people around you who claim to be your controllers, because ultimately they're no different to you. And don't give the system too much credit. Don't perceive that it is this all-empowering thing that can come and devour you, because just that belief will make it so. And once people gain that understanding alone, it's an incredibly empowering understanding. We're seeing a time in history when mankind remembers who and what we are. When we remember our connection to the planet, when we begin to understand and remember our connection to all reality and to all creation, and we begin to remember the power that we have to bring about positive change. So my question is, do you feel free now? And if you don't, then what will it take to make you feel free? And if you ever are free, what will you do with that freedom?